Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes: the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down, shining a light on the root cause of these crimes and introducing a spiritual solution. Justice will be served. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
PureSoapFlakes.com 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com, greenhome.com, amazon.com, or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Boy, I haven't said that in a while. Okay, I got a lot of shows in the can, taped, put away. But I want to do a special, quick little live show for you here. It is September 18th, 2019. So this is live content, brand new content. It's not a repeat. And I just wanted to discuss my personal involvement with Fiona Barnett and get this out there on the record for a couple of reasons. I was sent a copy of her book, Eyes Wide Open, I think it's called, or Eyes Wide. Let me see. Well, it's either open or shut. Okay. And you can find it at David Schroeder's website, at her Pedals Down Under website as well, for free. It's a free PDF. I was sent a copy of this about a month back. And I started trying to contact Fiona to come on the show. And after some back and forth, she agreed to come on the show. I taped an hour with her, going over old content and some of her newer content and newer claims. After I did the show, I accidentally deleted the show. I've tried to contact her many, many times. Hey, Fiona, did you tape the show? Did you tape the show? If you did, let's play the show. She hasn't gotten back to me. But she does that occasionally. So what I did was, last night I played a repeat. The first interview I ever did with Fiona Barnett back in 2015. And I've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of complaints, mostly on YouTube as usual, saying that we're rude to her, all this kind of stuff like that. So I just want to set the record straight here. Back in 2015, when we did that interview, we were both in a bad mood that day because we had a lot of Skype issues. David Schroeder was supposed to come on the show with us. But we could not get a three-way call loaded into Skype, no matter what we tried, him trying to do it, me trying to do it, her. We couldn't get it done. So at the last minute, we had to drop Schroeder, and Fiona and myself did the show alone. So we were all a little edgy, okay? We were all a little cranky that day, all right? And people were saying that I made her sound rude, or I made her sound whatever. I was condescending to her. I got to tell you this. She was very pleased with that interview at the time. She had no problems with it. As a matter of fact, after she did that interview with me, I gave her a slot. I gave her an airtime slot for free on my station. I was running awakeradio.us at the time. I had my own internet radio station, and I gave her, I think, 2 hours on that, which she gladly took. She had a radio show called Pedals Down Under. I still have all the MP3s of it. She would send them to me religiously, on time. She was working with some guy who was producing a show for her. It was good content as far as I recall. It was very popular, too. Then one day, she just stopped talking to me. She just disappeared. I had a little issue with David Schroeder, and maybe he contacted her and said, hey, Ed's a bad guy. Don't deal with Ed anymore. I don't know what happened. I can't tell you what happened because no one's ever told me. Okay? What's happened? But she was very happy with that interview. I was one of the first people to interview her anywhere. Okay? When I went to interview her, I didn't have something to listen to and hear what she had to say. All I had was some news articles to read about her claims against Anthony Kidman, who was Nicole Kidman's father. And I found those claims at that time to be credible claims, that she had a problem with Anthony Kidman. Then I checked out her Twitter page, and I saw what her family looked like. She had pictures of her family, and it was definitely a bizarre family who had the look of people that would be up to that kind of activity. So I've never had a big problem with Fiona Barnett. Okay, she left the show. By the way, most of the hosts that left Awake Radio left without a further word to me, okay? So when one guy came back, I better not say that, okay? They're not really on bad terms or anything like that, but most hosts, when they leave a station, they just kind of just leave, and just don't talk to you anymore, all right? So there's that. I have no ill will toward the woman whatsoever. I gave her a show on my radio station, right? Now, I contacted her recently, and we taped the second interview, 55 minutes, because I was sent a copy of this book. And I got to tell you, I got some problems with this book, okay, the portions that I've read. And I talked to Fiona about some of these problems on the air, on this recorded interview, and she says, oh, well, if that's true, I'll remove it from the book. It's still in the book. If you don't know who I am, I was the private investigator in the Katie Doe Trump-Epstein lawsuit in 2016. So I'm kind of familiar with this kind of stuff. I just had a meeting this week, too, with someone else who's very familiar with all this kind of activity going on there with Epstein and stuff like that. In fact, I was handed the phone to talk to a New York Times reporter about what I know about this case. Okay, I've been on NPR, I've been on BBC, the Sun, the Daily Mail, all of them have contacted me to talk about this. They've all downloaded stuff from my members section at OperaManReport.com. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. A little bit. In her book, she makes this claim that there's an underground rooms at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion at Little St. James down there in Virgin Islands. And I could tell you, that's not true. That's not real. I don't know where this story comes from, okay? But it's not true because I've personally talked to people that have been on that island. I've personally talked to people that have lived in that house for weeks and months and back and forth for weeks and months, okay? None of that. No one's reported. Victims, okay, I'm talking about. Okay, no one's reported this back to me. No one else knows about this who's involved in this case. In reality, a lot of internet nonsense out there. Okay, sorry about that. I'm getting a little worked up. I've been running around like a lunatic. I'm getting ready to take a little trip. And I'm just a little... I'm not mad at anybody, okay? It does get a little annoying to see so much disinformation out there on the internet and confusion. And I just like the truth and I like the facts. She also has something in her book here about that there was an explosion and a fire on the island that destroyed all the evidence. Again, that's not true. No one investigating this case, no one, there's no credible source for that. Even in the media or ultimately, there's no credible source for that. But I can tell you, after speaking to people who would know, okay, that is not a fact. That's fiction. There was no fire. There was no explosion. There's no evidence destroyed at the island. Okay? Now, before we scheduled the interview, I explained to her I was the investigator in that case. All right? So she was aware of that. During the interview, I asked her about these two questions here, and I told her this is incorrect. And she says, well, if it's incorrect, I'll remove it from the book. It's still in the book. So, take that for what it's worth. She also reports in the book about the Madeleine McCann case that the Podesta brothers were in Portugal that weekend. Now, there are those sketches, right? Those witness sketches. I forget what they're called. They have a funny word for it over there. MPads or iPads or something like that. And there is no credible source that places the Podesta brothers there in Portugal. As a matter of fact, there is some indication that the skinny Podesta, okay, that they have some kind of his whereabouts. He was giving a speech or something like that. So there is some evidence that he's not there, more than there is evidence that they were there. Other than those sketches, and those sketches were not of two people, it was of the same person. Okay, those were two people sketches of the same person. So that's also, widely. Now, I'm not a big McCann expert, but that's widely disputed by everyone who's a McCann expert. Okay, now that she says that this frazzle drip video that was supposedly recovered from Anthony Weiner's laptop, she makes a comment there. Well, let me preface this. I was the digital forensic investigator in Wienergate. Okay. The woman the agent who got me in, who was the agent for the Tiger Woods mistresses. Okay. She hired me to vet all the Tiger Woods mistresses and see who was a Tiger Woods mistress and who wasn't. She became the mistress agent. Okay. And the first woman in Wienergate, this woman named Maria, I forget her last name, but she lives here in Las Vegas. She was a poker dealer. And she was the first woman to come forth with these texts with Anthony Weiner. Okay? I processed that phone with those text messages for the agent of that woman and the agent for the Tiger Woods mistresses. The same woman turned out later on to be the agent for Stormy Daniels, the original deal with Stormy Daniels. A lot of people don't know this, okay, because it's not commonly known, but this is what's going on. All right? So I was the investigator in the Wienergate case, the first one. I knew all about Sidney Leathers before the press knew who Sidney Leathers was. If you go back and find my interview, I think I did with Nightline